the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to an episode of Locked On Buckeyes, part of Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast, and today's episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com and tell them Locked On sent you. It is Monday, June 14th in the year 2021. And no matter if you're listening to the podcast via the audio version, Apple Podcasts, the Odyssey app, or wherever you get your podcast, or if you're watching us on YouTube, I want to thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes a part of your day. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter as well, at Locked On Buckeye. Lineup for today in segment 2, we talk about a possible new academy or prep school that might be coming to Ohio. Segment 3, there's a report. There are 2 players that are no longer on the team. We begin today's show talking about the one thing that I knew was going to happen, but I didn't want it to. College football expansion is coming quicker than some thought that it would. Just late last week, I think it was the day after the final episode was recorded of last week, it was reported that a proposal was going to be given and presented to the working group surrounded, and that is in charge of fielding these questions, answering questions, putting thoughts out there, and coming out with a plan to expand the current college football playoff format. The current format, like most of you know, it is a 4-team playoff, the top 4 ranked teams after the end of the week where the conference championship games are played. Whoever's 1 through 4, they will play in the playoff games, semifinal round. Those games will be played at bowl games. It is one of the 6, I believe, New Year's 6 bowls. That is where the games will be played. Then, of course, the national championship, normally about a week and a half after those games are played. Well, the new format, it's interesting. It's more detailed, more criteria, which these people don't want to give us. My opinion, I don't really agree with how their lack of criteria for them to not tell us how they get from point A to point B as far as how they figure out what they're doing and how they're ranking their teams. They still want to dodge that and make people feel, oh, you're going to feel good by having us have an expansion. A lot of people like it. Some people do not. The current format, the proposed, I have to emphasize this on purpose, emphasize this as much as I can. This is a proposal. It is not final. So what they're talking about and going through right now, it is a proposal that has been put forth. It has not been something that is concrete, set in stone. So the current proposal might not even be the final thing that the outcome is, but it sure looks like expansion is coming very, very quickly. So the proposed format, 12-team playoff, the automatic bids go to 6 teams. 5 conference championship winners. Then the highest ranked conference championship winner is a group of 5 school. So last year, did a little bit more note writing than normal. If I could get my notebook. Last year, the highest ranked group of 5 champion was Cincinnati. They won 8-3. Coastal Carolina went 11-0. They were ranked number 12. They would have been in the playoff as well. 16 was BYU. They had one loss. They would have been out of the playoffs. I was in a show yesterday, and the guy was like, oh, BYU. No, BYU was a story, not one of the better teams. So also, an interesting note about this. The top 4 ranked teams, even though they win their conference championship, they do not get a bye. Teams 5 through 8 do get a bye in this format. 1 through 4 end up getting a bye in the first round. 5 through 8 host the first round of the playoff will be hosted at home sites. So just hypothetically speaking, if I go 5 through 8 instead of I got to flip things around really quickly. So let's just say A&M, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Florida, Cincinnati. Those were the 5 through 8 teams. Those teams host games. Now, the odd thing is that won't be the case because Notre Dame is in the top 4. Notre Dame does not have a chance to get a bye since they are not in a conference. Notre Dame also, to me, is a team that gets immensely discredited and underrated and talked bad about when they're one of the best teams in college football almost every year. One of the best, not the best, but one of the best. They are right up there, normally up near the top of the pecking order in college football. So Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State this past season, they all won their conference championship game. 1, 2, 3, and our ranking would be exactly the same. Oklahoma would move up to the 4th spot since they won the Big 12. Oregon, I believe, would get a 6th spot. This is one interesting thing. Oregon was the number 25 ranked team last year at 4-2. They will get an automatic bid into this college football playoff. The proposal, because they won the Pac-12 conference, and the Pac-12 is a power school. That's one thing that's a little uneasy with me. To me, if they're going to go with the 12, I think it's going to make a whole lot more sense on ranking or just giving us a top 12. Give us the best 12 teams in the country. Rank them however you want to. Top 12 teams, put them in a playoff, and then figure out the whole bye situation at another date. But this is where we are right now. Expansion's on the way. Do you like the 12-team format? Do you want an 18 format, a 16 format, a 14 format, 10, 16, 18, 24? What do you want? 20? Tweet at me at jstevens07. The DMs are open. Email jstevens317@gmail.com. That email address is always available. You can text me as well, 850-462-5442. Text me. Let me know what you think. Have a healthy, clean, concise back and forth about this very matter. Trust me, I have more coming this week about this. You probably have some coming from you as well. Expansion's coming. One interesting note about expansion. The team up north would have made the playoff if there was expansion. Alabama would not have made the playoff numerous times, even if expansion was a thing. Most recently, 2019, the highest ranked group of 5 school conference champion was Utah. So that means 1 through 12 would have already been in. And then Alabama was the number 13 team, 2019 season. Let me be correct. They went 10-2. So there's a couple of things to think about. There's some more details coming this week as far as conversation surrounding the playoff. That's the current format. Well, that's currently what is being proposed. It is not set in stone, but it sure looks like if they're going to be moving down that road very, very quickly. Let's step away very quickly. When we come back, we'll discuss the possibility of a prep school, a high-caliber prep school coming to the state of Ohio. But first, check this out. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your sports action. Baseball season is in full swing, and you can track all the action at BetOnline. Get all the latest news, odds, and info for all your sporting needs, including MLB, NBA, NHL, and all your UFC/MMA action. Before the next pitch, head over to BetOnline on your laptop or mobile device and check out all the great sporting news, sign-up bonuses, and even contest information. Don't sit on the sidelines anymore, as this is your chance to get into the game as teams prep for their runs to the playoffs. Head to betonline.ag on your laptop or mobile device to sign up today. And when you do, make sure you use promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, your online sports book experts. If this is your first time listening or watching Locked On Buckeyes, I want to say welcome. Or if it's your first time in a long time watching or listening to the podcast, I want to say welcome back. Make sure if you're on YouTube, you hit that subscribe button. Make sure if you're on Apple Podcasts, the Odyssey app, or wherever you get your fine podcast, you hit that follow button. Now, I understand Apple Podcasts went to a new format, a new look on their app. I believe the follow button is in the top right. I think it's a check mark or a plus. I think it's a plus until you end up hitting that button and it goes to check saying you follow that podcast. Little different layout, but make sure you do both of those things. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow on whatever app you're listening on so you don't miss a beat, because this is the place to be to stay up to date with your Ohio State football and basketball teams every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. This week, be on the lookout for some bonus episodes, possibly Tuesday, maybe a couple on Wednesday. Not sure when, but there planning on being some extra content for you. IMG Academy. If you may have not heard about that, that is one of the highest or most prestigious prep schools in the country. When I think about prep schools in college and high school, not college, wrong field, Jay. In high school, I'm gonna say college again. If I think about prep schools and preparatory schools in high school, there are some that just jump out that speak volumes. If you go out to the West Coast, you got Sierra Canyon. That's where LeBron's son Bronny goes. Scottie Pippen's son went there. I think Kenyon Martin's son, Kenyon Martin Jr. went out there as well. You have Bishop Gorman. I mean, if you remember Tathan Martell, he went to Bishop Gorman there in Vegas, one of the powers and one of the biggest and best prep schools as far as for the football, high school football. In basketball, you have Huntington Prep there in West Virginia. You have Spire, I believe that Spire Institute, I believe, in Ohio. You have where I live in Indiana. You have La Lemire, which is up near Gary, which is one of the weirdest things. You have your prep school up near Gary, Indiana. Everyone thinks Gary. You don't want to go there, but there are lots of kids all around the country that flock to that area to really raise their recruiting and really get a whole lot better and focus on the basketball. In Florida, I am only naming a few. In Florida, you have IMG Academy. That is in Bradenton, Florida, not far from Tampa. The one thing about IMG, now Huntington Prep, we know for basketball. Oak Hill is we know for basketball. If you watch Last Chance U, Joe Hampton, that was on Last Chance U basketball, he played at Oak Hill Academy. So Bishop Gorman football, Sierra Canyon, we know mainly for basketball. Bishop Gorman football, Spire, that one skinny kid went there for basketball. La Lemire up near Northwest Indiana near Gary, that's basketball. Huntington Prep basketball, Oak Hill basketball. IMG Academy is one of the rare ones that you hear for both the basketball and the football. It's a boarding school, boarding school, an elite training facility for elite high school athletes. I remember when I was in high school, there was a young man that was saying, hey, man, I got the chance to go down to IMG. Should I go? Should I not go? Should I go? Should I not go? I didn't think he was good enough to go, but also at the same time, I was not an evaluator. I was his teammate. I was not an evaluator that's knowing how things are going in the entire landscape of the country as far as elite high school wide receivers, but he did say he had a chance to go down there to play at IMG his senior year of high school. He didn't go. I don't even know. One reason why I don't believe him, I feel like he went to a junior college and probably was because of his grades. He had talent to play college football. I just think that at the time, grades weren't the best, so he went the JUCO route to try to work his way up. Well, Braxton Miller and Troy Smith, who just got back on Twitter after a long hiatus, he's back on, and it could be because it's a little venture that him and Braxton Miller might be going on. They are planning. There is a group of people that are together and trying to discuss a way to purchase the former Urbana University campus to be the home, to be the place where the Urbana Prep and Sports Institute will call home. Franklin College, I believe I'm getting this right. Urbana University did field and did have 21 Division II athletic programs, sports programs. The school did fold in 2019 due to the enrollment being down, enrollment being lower, and the COVID-19 really shook things up for a lot of people. Local businesses, yes, but also there were universities that had to close their doors because of the rules and the protocols and the things that were happening during the past year and a half. I think this is a good thing. Well, let me preface that. I think this is a good thing for them because they're trying to accomplish something that's accomplished down south. Let's move that thing up to the Midwest. IMG Academy, anytime I hear IMG, it's also a place for major recruiting camps. Now, we have heard all about the Ohio State camps that they're having right now, the recruiting camps where athletes are coming in and working out in front of coaches to get that eye and to potentially get a scholarship offer from these different universities around the country. I heard Florida State ended up having a big, massive recruiting camp, and it wasn't mainly for them. I think there were like 2,500 different high school athletes that were there, but Florida State invited all schools from all over the place, all over the country to come down and really just be a hub and a center for recruiting for a weekend. And I think most of the I don't even know if Florida State offered one kid. It was a lot of offers that were coming around from different places. And I think that Ohio State, if Braxton Miller and Troy Smith are able to pull this off and are able to put their money together in the group that they're discussing purchasing this land with, if they're able to do this, they can do some things that IMG is doing in Florida, right in Ohio, in Midwest, in the Midwest, and have those recruiting camps. I mean, bring all the elite high school athletes, do 7-on-7, do different things so that they can be in these recruiting camps and coaches can have more of a look at them. Me personally, I have always been a proponent and an advocate of athletes. If you're going to leave, don't leave before the senior year. Now, I get it. Some athletes leave after junior year, go to senior year, go down to these schools, and then come back. I've always been a pusher and a proponent. Stay where you are. Now, there are benefits in some areas, some cases, to going to these schools. A lot of times, the athletes that are going, they're already on a good team. They're already in a place that has elite competition in high school, and the competition and the camaraderie and the lack of being around your friends you've been building your entire life, that could be something that hinders them down the road. I've always been a proponent. Stay in high school. Stay where you are. I know prep schools have their place. I know prep schools will not go anywhere. There will only be more coming around the country. I'm sure there's talks to other places of prep schools and different people are trying to build or purchase land like these gentlemen are, and then build something just like IMG or trying to replicate what IMG Academy has done down there in Bradenton, Florida. It's a good thing that they're trying to do something good to help the individuals, the young men. And I think down the road, this could be a hotbed, a hub for more Ohio State young men saying, hey, look, I know you were down at this place for a couple of years or 3 years. You came up here for a little bit. We already had our eye on you down there. You came up here, played a whole lot better. Come on to Ohio State. This will easily boost recruiting. And you would think that Miami, Florida Gators, and also the Florida State Seminoles will utilize IMG and pull players from there to go to their schools. The appeal that those schools have don't have the appeal and the luster and the allure that they used to have, but Ohio State is Ohio State. One of the top five, one of the 4 or 5 blue bloods in college football. And that brand speaks volumes. It'll help definitely help their recruiting. Guys, one more break. When we come back, we'll talk about not just one, but 2 players that are no longer on the football team. But first, check this out. Did you know that Built Bar has 9 delicious flavors plus the occasional limited time flavors? Some of those flavors are coconut and then coconut almond, then cherry, then raspberry, mint brownie, peanut butter brownie, double chocolate, and even salted caramel. There's literally a flavor for everyone. If you haven't tried all the flavors, you can get a mixed box where you'll get 2 of each of the 9 flavors. Guys, trust me, when those things come to my place and they come to my mailbox, I am amazed because I get to learn more about the flavors that I haven't tried just yet. Built Bars are also a little tasty and healthy as well. Low calorie, low sugar, high protein, high fiber, and they're also great for that keto diet. Go to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED15, and you will get 15% off your first order. Once again, go to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off at BuiltBar.com. And as we roll on to continue this final episode, wow, my days are all mixed up. When I record in the morning, sometimes I'm a little fuzzy like I am right now. It's Monday. I know it's Monday, the starting the week. Thank you for joining us on this final beginning first episode of the week. I will get it correct before the show is over. I'm here on Locked On Buckeyes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. See, I got that right. I knew I would get my P's and Q's, dot the I's, cross the T's very, very quickly. It's Monday. It's enjoyable. It's exciting. The weather outside is beautiful. Some of you have been outside at the pool or at the lake or just really trying to enjoy it. Maybe some of you have gone to the beach, just trying to enjoy the weather and stay as positive as you can. And trying to make sure things go as smooth and you can project the future. You don't have to abruptly stop anything that you love or that you enjoy. And ultimately, there was a report from Jeremy Birmingham from Letterman Row where there are not just one, but two athletes at Ohio State that had to abruptly or chose to abruptly end their playing days at the Ohio State University. We'll go youngest to oldest first. The first is Elijah Gardner. Elijah Gardner, some of you may not know who that name is. He is a wide receiver was a wide receiver at Ohio State. Only played one game between 2019 and 2020 seasons. One game, one catch for 10 yards. Those are the only stats that he had while at Ohio State. The other, Jalen Harris, now he was a 4-year player at Ohio State. Played in 5 games. Had 5 catches for 54 yards, an average of 10.8 yards per reception, 0 trips to pay dirt. So why do you think, or why possibly do you think this is happening right now, that these young men are deciding to not just not play football, but per the report that I read from Jeremy Birmingham, they're not just not playing football at Ohio State, they're not playing football anymore. That wide receiver room is huge. It's loaded. And I mentioned earlier, right at the end of May, I expected for there to be more players that would end up transferring out of Ohio State. Another key note before I get any further about these two young men, both players were listed on the Buckeye spring game roster, but neither played in the scrimmage in April. They both would have had 2 seasons of eligibility remaining after the NCAA granted an extra year to all student athletes after the coronavirus really had its impact and took a major hit for college football. And the departure leaves the Buckeyes with 5 available scholarships for the upcoming season. I think what they saw was what guys like Jameson Williams. Now, Jameson Williams is a different situation because Jameson Williams would have ended up playing a little bit, not starting. But Jameson Williams, Mookie Cooper, those gentlemen, you're going to end up finding there are going to be guys on the team that might end up being like, hey, there's a lot of talent here. I think I can still play, and it's time for me to go somewhere else. Might I also add the load of our receiver room that everybody keeps talking about? Guy Scott Jr. ended up changing positions from wide receiver to tight end. And I think he would have been a good wide receiver as well, but I think he sees more promise for him at the tight end position than the wide receiver position based off the recruits that Brian Hartline is bringing in. The wide receiver room right now goes something like this. Olave and Wilson will be on the outside. You got Jackson Smith and Jigba playing the slot. Of course, there's been no official depth chart released yet. These are just the way that we expect these things to go. Julian Fleming is returning. Early enrollees Emeka Egbuka, almost put a G with it, and the first M is Marvin Harrison Jr., then Jaden Ballard are also there as well. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 wide receivers. Also, Ohio State just recently offered a scholarship to Jackson State graduate transfer, also wide receiver, Dalen Baldwin. And that could have been part of the reason why Mr. Harris and Mr. Gardner decided to leave Ohio State and no longer play the football. I do believe both of these young men, wide receivers, one was a 3-star, I think the other was a 4-star. I think both of these wide receivers could play college football at some level this upcoming season. But maybe what's happening to them is the same thing that happens to just humans. You're not playing, you're not active, you're not really in the fold, you're not in the mix of things, and all of a sudden you're saying, well, I don't want to play anymore. I think my run is over. I think that my time playing this sport is over. Yeah, I could go play somewhere else for a year or two, try to fight, crawl, scratch, not literally bite, to get a spot, or I could just hang it up and plan for the future. As most athletes playing the college football, 99% of them will be hanging it up and planning for the future at the end of their playing days. Once eligibility is over, these two young men may have said, hey, man, look, I'm just going to stop this right now. Not saying this is confirmed that this is actually the case, but just hypothetically speaking, I'm going to stop this right now. I'm going to go ahead, hang it up, start planning for the future. because I know I have a life after football. I can start that life right now. I'm not sure how long I'll play football once I leave the Ohio State University. Guys, this has been fun. We got through it. It's Monday. Let's enjoy the week. Let's be excited. Let's kill everything we do. Let's enjoy this. Now, I did mention big things coming with 2 defensive linemen. I'm not sure how it's going to go. There might be one episode on Friday with 2 different athletes instead of one on Wednesday, one on Friday, based off some things going on this week. But we'll get both of those in. Planning on getting both of those in still this week, and then tackling next week with some more things that I have planned for the near future. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. Send all of your emails, jstevens317@gmail.com. My DMs on Twitter are always open if you want to ask a question or make a comment about something you heard, something you saw. Go right ahead and do that thing. Until next time, guys, enjoy the weather, enjoy the day, have fun this summer, and remember, go Bucks!